Sister.
Hey girl, hey. Let me guess, you got a word.
Sure do.
I'll meet you at Bayroom.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of the Bayroom podcast and show, or welcome back. My name is Deja.
I'm Alisa, and welcome to the
Bayroom.
Welcome to Bayroom.
Welcome to Bayroom.
Here at Bayroom, we discuss all things Black love and Black family.
What's making us, what's breaking us.
And if that sounds like something you'd like to be a part of, a conversation you'd like to be a part of, please like this video and subscribe to our channel.
Yes, and please feel free to catch the audio-only version of this, our podcast version, wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes. Yeah. So what are we getting into today?
Some things.
Today's topic is actually one that hits home more than anything we'll probably ever talk about. It's the epidemic of the fatherless home.
Whew, I'm giving you the floor, girl. Go ahead.
In the Black community specific. Now, let me start this off by saying this conversation is not in comparison to white homes, white families, but I just want to take a moment to talk about what's happening specifically in our community. So really quickly, I want to run down some statistics surrounding the fatherless homes.
Yes.
And the effects that it has on our children and ultimately our communities. So 70% of Black children grow up without a father in the home. If you're raised without your father, you are 5 times more likely to be poor and commit crime, 9 times more likely not to finish school, and 20 times more likely to end up in jail. Before I get into the facts, and excuse me because I'm going to be reading from my phone because I want to make sure that, I got my facts straight.
Yes.
How does that make you feel? Just that.
My heart is broken because kids can't choose their circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
So to know that you're already bets are against you, even before, it depends, even sometimes before you're born, but even before whatever, before you can make a decision for yourself, it's heartbreaking and it's evident. That's what's more scary is that this is not a lie. You can clearly see this in the streets.
So in 1964, Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Economic Opportunity Act as part of, his the war on poverty, which laid the foundation for programs like SNAP, Medicaid, Medicare, Head Start, Social Security, and all those things. So there is a conversation around the idea that this was the beginning of the destruction of the Black family because it allowed for the woman to feel like they could do this by themselves. They didn't need a man, and the government could replace that, that provider.
Yeah.
And so in turn, men were no longer valued, and I guess just followed suit.
Yeah.
Then there was a crack era, mass incarceration, racism. Not racism,
No,
racism. Been there, but everything else that comes with systematic racism. But taking racism and oppression out of the equation, the advantage that every other ethnic group has over Blacks is a strong family foundation, a strong family unit. Black people are more of an advantage today than we were in the 30s and the 40s when the Black man was home with their family and the crime rates in our communities were down.
Yeah.
They weren't nearly as high as they are today. The idea is that if they had a father at home to fear and respect, they'd have more regard for authority and the people around them. So this doesn't take away from the fact there's always going to be the exceptions to the majority.
Yeah.
But we have choices at the end of the day, but the decisions we make in life start with what's in us or the lack thereof.
Yeah.
So that being said, Deja,
Or-
you grew you grew up with your dad in the home, so you were, one of the exceptions to the majority. So, what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, so I was blessed enough to have my dad in the home, and I'm very grateful for it. Um, he's been through his own set of traumas. His mom passed away at a young age. He was in a rap group called Trends of Culture, shouting him out real quick. But that gives you a certain experience in life. Um, then he became a father with my mother, and I feel like them two together, they were so polar opposites. Like they're both college educated, but I think aside from that, my mom had a different experience. She had both parents in the home, and my dad didn't. So growing up with a dad in the home with those experiences,
It's a little
it
different.
almost feels like he's raising you for survival, even though you don't have to survive. Like I never felt like I had to survive in anything, like any situation. But that, like, for example, with sex with girls, and I know you can only imagine, like, that's with all dads, whether they're in the home or not, like, how they perceive your daughter or how they perceive their daughters having sex. But my dad was very big on just, like, don't let niggas, like, do whatever. Like, I remember one day I called him and told him I got on birth control. Granted, I was in high school, so I imagine it was a shocker, but I felt like I was doing the responsible thing. Like, I called him to tell him that. I was really proud.
You didn't
And
call your mom first?
Didn't call my mom first. Called him.
Why?
I don't know. And like I think it's because in the beginning, like my dad's always been like a super cool dude. Like he's just always been super cool. So like I just called him. Like and I just told him and he got angry at me.
And did you expect him to get angry?
No, I called him excited and he got angry at me. And then come to find
Excited?
out. Yeah, because I felt like I was like really like
I felt like you were doing something
yeah,
mature
I felt like
and
that was a
adult.
big girl thing to get on birth
Okay.
control.
Yeah,
and
I feel
like
that.
he took it, he was mad. So women in his circle, his circumference, got on birth control to prevent babies because they were doing what they weren't supposed to do. In our minds, in his mind.
So here you are thinking you're super cool dad.
And he's thinking I'm
Good
doing
job,
those things.
Deja.
He's thinking I'm doing those things. So after that, we never had any sex talks. Like it was never like that. And then fast forward to high school, I snuck out the house one day, already angry, already on 10, him and my mom. And they go through my bag. They find like a little bottle of Sriracha hookah and some condoms. And they were like heartbroken. Like they were very upset. Not even over the fact that I snuck out. They just were like it was just a thing. And I was like, oh wow, like this is the responsible thing
Wait,
to
how
do.
old were you?
Maybe about 16, 17. It was in high school for a fact. I just can't remember. But like so when I think about having a father in the home, he instilled like it was almost like a fear. Like I almost felt like don't get caught up, don't do some stupid shit, don't do that. Because that's his experiences and those are his experiences with women. I don't know what up until those are experiences with women because when he got my mom, those were not his experiences. Like, but it was just like I feel like because if he survived so much in his life, he was teaching me survival instead of living, and it had an effect. Like even now, I feel like I make the decisions I make because of him. Like I make solid decisions. Like, but I feel like it took time to get to translate that into solid decisions. Like as a child, like that's not the decisions you're making. So that's just like one example. And we never had sex talks in my house. Like I kind of just had sex and things happened, and then like I told you about it if something got bad. Like that's just what it was. Yeah.
What are some things that you shared?
Like
When things got bad, what do you think?
I basically one day like, oh God, anybody from my high school watching this? Yeah.
Kiss my ass. Kiss my
No,
ass.
seriously, kiss my ass. But basically, I felt pressured to have sex because I didn't have sex for a long time in high school. Like
That's a lot of
a
our
lot of the
stories.
women that I was surrounding myself with, girls at the time, I already were doing that stuff, and they already had stories. And I I went to a high school in a small town, so when it's like that, everybody's having sex with each other. Even if it sounds disgusting now, that's not what it was. It wasn't disgusting then. So
It wasn't disgusting.
it wasn't disgusting then. So I felt pressure to do that, and I ended up having relations with this guy this girl I wasn't friends with, but we were cool. It was her boyfriend, and I told my parents about that, and that he wasn't my boyfriend. He was almost somebody else's, and I felt disgusted with myself. And in turn, I think they felt disgusted with me and disappointed. But I'm like, we don't have conversations like that. Not that I didn't know it was wrong. No one has to have a conversation to tell you that's wrong. But like, I didn't have open dialogue, so I almost feel like, and this goes back to something else I told you before. I almost tell you, I tell people things because I'm spilling over. I don't look for emotional support. It's overflowing, so I spit it out, and that's why I told them that. So I never had a healthy sex conversation with my mom or dad. I remember my dad telling me one time, he's like after this condom situation he found after I snuck out the house, he was like, you know, you and your mom one day are gonna talk about that. He's like, I hope it's not a bunch of guys. And I was like, it's not. It's actually one guy. One guy shouldn't be with. One guy shouldn't be doing things with. And because I'm scared to do anything else with, I only keep going back to that one guy. And he thought in my mind I was fucking everybody, and not because he thought I was a hoe, but like because he thought like he just associated that like it wasn't. But I'm like, that's survival for you, not as an adult. That's survival. So like. That's like having a dad in the home to instill it, but they come off bases of like their own experiences. So it could kind of go both ways. Like it's like, yes, I had a dad in the home, so statistically I guess I'm not in that statistic, but I could have been.
Like, so it's like that point that I brought up, I believe I said this when I first started. So you can have a father in the home. But what value does he add to your life?
Yeah.
And that depends on his upbringing. That depends on the work that he's done. Because there are plenty, like I said, like there's a lot of people in our communities, like if their father isn't a deadbeat or a deadbeat or, around paying child support, but like inconsistent, he's there, but he's not adding value.
No.
He's not an actual parent. Not to say that this is your case.
No, my dad adds
value. But, they're... all parents fall short, but like there is, just a huge void in certain areas. So that I think it's great that you come in with the perspective of completely opposite of mine, of having your dad around because, and then like, the circumstances around that, like him not, having his parents and all of those things, just because, it's so interesting because I feel like and this is not kudos, but like big ups to my mother for, doing her best to fill that void and to make sure that, I never went without. So for me, I have a really hard time identifying what not having my father has done to me. I have a huge some girls are like, oh,
they got
this
examples.
Is because, I don't see myself as someone who has daddy issues because I was never a hoe. And I don't like to use the word hoe. Let's not use that word.
But like,
I was
you
never like
sleeping
around.
Something.
I never, I never felt like I needed validation from a man. But I know because of the people in my life, I know that there are areas, where it's apparent that, I do have some sort of daddy issues. I just can't identify.
That's amazing. Shout out to your mom. That's amazing though.
I don't know how amazing that is because I feel like it's a like, I feel a little like desensitized. I feel a little desensitized because, so just a little bit of background. I don't even know where to start with my father. It's interesting too. I hope he sees this. You missing out, kid. You missing out.
No, you are missing out.
Not just on my life.
No, but you're just missing out on having daughters. I think having daughters, being able to raise a woman.
There's multiple of us.
But being able to raise a woman.
My sister Grace Rose is like, the bomb.
She's amazing. You're amazing. I think being able to raise a woman and say you were
did
able to do that
and contribute to it.
My dad is probably saying that.
Right.
Like literally.
So, I don't even know where to start, but like, I have memories of my father. My father was like around here. I was raised very closely with his family.
Okay.
So my mother kind of made sure that, I had a relationship with them growing up. So like his sisters, my grandmother, my cousins. But he's always kind of been, he played basketball professionally. So he's always kind of been like come and go kind of,
Okay.
So hindsight is 2020. So like my perspective is very, very different than like I'm just realizing a lot of things. Like I wasn't around him as much as I thought I was. Like the moments that, I thought we had were they seemed like a lot and big deals back then. But now that I look back at it, I realize, or maybe I'm just forgetting some things as I get older.
Could be.
But I don't have any significant memories of him other than like check-ins, like when he's in town, grab a bite to eat, send me back on my merry way. Never answered my phone calls. Like, I always had his number. Never answered my phone calls. I do have, like, so there were a couple times that because of his family, I went to go visit him wherever he was staying at the time. But he was not an active father at all. Like, I don't remember ever receiving any gifts from him, any happy birthday, like nothing. He was just like a person that was like in and out of my life for a period of time, and then like completely out of my life. I want to say before high school, like completely out. So this conversation is rough for me just because I don't feel like I've gotten to a point where I can talk about how it's impacted me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just say anything, you know?
You want to be true in yourself.
Yeah, and I want to be able to, like, be aware of these things. Like, I don't want to just say, oh, it's made me cold, because I don't think that's the case. Like, I think that any kind of, like, emotional block I have, it's not just, if that has contributed to it, it's not just that. Like, I've gone through some things that, and had some experiences and some interactions that have contributed to me being that has contributed to any kind of emotional block that I have. But what I will say is, I never had a father figure in my home. All of the men in my life, godfathers, uncles.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, did you have one at all?
No. So now I have 2 godfathers. I have one godfather that, has been present in my life throughout my life. But has not been consistent. But I don't have high expectations of these men.
Yeah, okay. That's a valid point.
I don't.
So they're not hurting. Like, it's not hurting
I don't
you.
feel hurt.
Yeah.
There may be like a slight disappointment, but I don't feel hurt.
Yeah.
I don't have high expectations for these guys. But I do have another godfather who was actually my father's best friend, who I was introduced to him at 18, and we've been super close ever since. I don't see him all the time, but we speak all the time. He's like, now he's becoming like that go-to guy that I call, like, if I want like advice on, guys in general. Like, if I feel like I need to hear a guy's perspective on something, he's, I've as of late have been, calling him about things like that. But I haven't had any like constant father figures. My mom didn't have me around a bunch of men. Like, I know that she dated. She wasn't in super long and like committed relationships growing up. So I will say that, like, I feel like I didn't know what relationships were supposed to be like, and how to treat a man.
Yeah.
How to treat a black man.
Yeah.
I'm learning that. I've learned that in my current relationship, and just understanding the traumas that our men come with.
Yeah.
And, just trying to be a safe space for them. So it's difficult for me to talk about, just because I'm still trying to figure out, like,
still trying to process, like, what does it mean to you? Like, it's tough. And I think that's honest. I think I'm glad you didn't come on here and say, like, so, and I'm not going to call it a cliche thing, because these are real things, but a lot of people say how they allow men to treat them is a real cause of, like, how their dads, like, show how their dads were absent, or it's very hot. I'm hanging on by a thread. A lot of women say that, and I believe that. Like, I'm not calling them liars, but I'm glad you didn't come on and almost, like, give yourself reasons that could be not of that. Like, you didn't make, you're really trying to find out, and then that's the work.
I don't want to be dramatic about it.
It's not even dramatic though. Like, you're finding what it is to you. And one day you might find that, or you might not, because that's the blessing. Like, you might not.
Sometimes I have moments, because I feel like it's so normalized, and we're so desensitized to how much of a big deal it is to birth something and abandon it completely.
Yeah, it's actually against our human ways, even as a man. Like, I know that men don't have that natural, like, motherly, like mothers get the skin to skin, mothers get the breastfeeding naturally keeps you close with your kid. We are biologically connected. Like it's like I literally can't go away from you. I need your smell and they need ours. And I know men don't have that, but like even as a human male, it's really hard. Like I can't even imagine like.
So I know that there are circumstances, right? I know there are circumstances where relationships don't work out. Women could be bitter and nasty. And a lot of times our men are not equipped to deal with those things. The system is another thing.
Yeah.
The system works against our men. So I know that there are a lot of moving parts to these situations.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you right now, there ain't a soul that could come between my child and his father.
Yeah.
Not even if I wanted to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if that means you have to manipulate the mom, like, do what you need to do.
That describes his character though. All I'm hearing is character traits.
Do what you need to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, do what you need to do. It's just, so I was saying that, I feel like we've become so normalized. So when I sit and really think about the fact that I have a whole parent that doesn't even know if I'm dead or alive.
Yeah. It's
I don't even know if he's dead or alive in this moment. Because anything can happen to anyone.
Yeah, anytime.
That's weird.
It is. Even as you saying it, I'm like, wow, like to not know.
It's a big deal.
Like if I didn't know what my dad calls me like all the time. So if I didn't know, like,
it's weird.
Not even calling me for a week is weird. Like,
it's weird
to not know if like,
as life goes on, like it becomes easier because it just is what it is, and it's been 20 some.
You get used to it.
So you get used to it, but
that's
when you
weird.
really sit and think about it, it's like, but back to like the system.
Yeah.
And how it was designed. So there's two arguments. There's the argument that these programs were put into place to destroy the black family, to remove the black man from the home. But then there's also the perspective of, the government. We already know that the government is never going to do anything to help us. No. But, SNAP, Medicare, Medicaid, these programs were not only for black people.
No.
They were for, the poor in general. So there were plenty of we know today, there are plenty of white people who, utilize these programs. But it does go to show you, it goes to show you like what we did with it. Like I think that it says a lot because of poor decision making, and also the system being set against us. It was easier for it to have this effect on our communities. And mass incarceration has a big, just it there's so many. I wish we had an expert on here to really dive into all the facts, but there's so many moving parts.
Yeah.
But it says a lot what our community did with that.
It does. Because when I think about like slavery times, I'm like, it didn't happen then. Like people were getting married during slavery. Like black people were getting married during times of the worst distress we've ever faced in this country.
And there was a big value on family.
You literally got married and you held values that people stripped away from you and told you were, and this is before 3/5 of a human. You were not human. You were like cattle. Like you literally were there to work, and people were still holding values of family and like marriage.
Even during the civil rights era.
Literally during any era where like there was extreme pain and there was a reason for you to run away from whatever you were doing. And then all of a sudden, and not all of a sudden literally, but all of a sudden, it's like things are added, more things are given, and you run away. And like I can see it being straight. I can see it being strained too. Like I can see it being, you have all this help, or I'm out here working, and da da da. I could see it being like that, or just anger, bitterness towards black women. Like, why do I have to take? Like, sometimes I think, like, do men back then think like, why do I have to take care of you when I'm busting my ass and like things are like that, and maybe it caused a bitterness in that woman.
I don't think that. I think what it is that at the end of the day, our psyche was already completely destroyed with slavery and with all of the oppression. Like we were already battling so many things mentally that these average, day-to-day things, just took a toll. Like I don't think that it was I don't think it was something that was intentional, like in the homes. Like women are like, oh, I'm fed up.
No.
I'm gonna just let the government raise your children. No, I think it was more so like, and it almost feels like a, how do I describe it? Things happen so perfectly is not the word, but it feels like it was designed to happen this way.
Yeah, and that's what people make the argument too, that it really was because we were so much powerful.
It was so perfectly set up.
Imagine being enslaved and coming out on that and running your own shit. Running your own.
We literally
shit.
had communities.
You didn't have to leave your community. So then what happens when you don't have to leave your community? You build it up.
Black people were entrepreneurs.
It becomes the best thing ever. Mm-hmm. Imagine that. Like, literally, you were enslaved. You were told you were nothing, nobody. You couldn't read or write. You built your own communities. You didn't have to leave them. You built them up. They were amazing. Your kids went to school here. Your mom and dad worked here. Or mom, rather, was at home. Dad was working here. Dad came home. Everybody was happy.
Yeah.
They hate to see it.
So the idea, behind the conversation is that, like, we would be ahead so much further, especially our Black men, because I think it starts with them as far as like family is concerned. I feel like our men, they're so needed in the home. I feel like, behind every strong Black man is a strong Black woman, of course. But I just feel like as far as being the leader and really like guiding and being just that pillar in the home, I feel like I think it was strategically removing the Black man from their home, making it so that these women, there's literally a documentary that I saw clips of a documentary where it's always the white men going in the hood, interviewing, asking these stupid ass questions back in the days. But
like we're a fucking zoo.
This man was asking these women, I think he was either in a school or I don't remember, but he was just like, do you need a man? Like, where's the father of your children? And this was like the 70s.
Like, what?
And they're all like, why would I need a man if I can get X, Y, and Z? If I got this and I got that, I don't need a man. I don't got to put up with this and I don't got to put up with that. So it's just sad. It's just sad to see. And on the other end of that, though, I don't know what the exact statistic is, but there has been a huge increase of Black families staying together and Black men raising their children, in more recent times. But just think about like all of the lives that could have been saved, and think about certain areas where all there is, like in Chicago, where all there is violence and
literally gangs are raising children.
Yes, the streets are raising these people. The streets are raising these people. It's just like the blind leading the blind. And it's so sad. All of their fathers are either in jail, dead.
On the very street they're shooting at. Like, just with them. Or cracked out. Yeah. Like, it's really sad. No, it is. It is.
We take it for granted.
I can't even imagine, like...
We don't really sit and think about, like...
No.
I mean, I know people have this conversation, but we don't really sit and think about how... Like, I'd rather fight tooth and nail to keep my son's dad in our home. Now, I'm in a relationship, you go through but so much. But, if it's a solid relationship, like, you do what you can to...
Yeah.
Too many... I've just... Especially back when we were younger, like, I've just seen too many families fall apart unnecessarily just because the men didn't have the tools, the women didn't have the tools. You having babies with the wrong people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're having babies by fathers who don't, who don't have, they don't just don't got it.
Yeah.
They just don't got it.
Then I feel like at a certain point, you have to look within yourself. I know it's a certain conversation, but I feel like aside from women, that men change. I know we talked about this on episode 2 about narcissists, like people that literally show you a face and have changed. So aside from those people, like that's a different example. All that other nonsense, you have to look within. Like sometimes, like I feel like how I feel about like my situation, my child, I didn't sign up to have a baby by myself. Like never thought like, oh, I can do this alone. I can, obviously we survive. But how I see things is like, that was never my thought going in. The women in my family didn't raise kids by themselves, even if they were unhappy. So I don't know, take that with a grain of salt. But I never, like it was never an option for me to be a single parent. It was never an option. So then what you have to do when you think about that, pick the right partner.
Right.
Before you do that, though, you have to look within. And I feel like a lot of people don't look within. Nowadays, I can only speak for now because we could tell our age, whatever, but like I can't speak for back then because all I could do is do my research and see. But for now, I see people falling in love with the thought than the process. They fall in love with the idea of a baby than the idea of a child. They fall in love with the idea of a family than actually doing the work to keep a family.
Or having a baby to keep a man.
Yeah, like it's weird. It's weird things going on. You're falling in love with the Instagram pictures and the videos of your baby shower. Then you are falling in love with the process of raising a human. Look how complex we are. We're so multifaceted. So why do you think like that baby situation lasts? It's quick. Please, you hear babies cry, it sounds like for life. It's not. Be praying your baby will cry to you one day because it goes by so quick. And I don't see people falling in love with the process. And not that I fell in love with the process, but I was very intentional on what I chose to do. Having a baby to me was not a mistake. It was not, and even if it was, you choose the partner that's gonna uplift that mistake.
Does your partner have his father in his life?
Yes. Yes.
So how do you think? Do you see where that was a benefit? I know it's hard to identify, but like, do you see? Because the majority of the men that I've come across did not have a father in their life.
Yeah.
And I can see the areas where maybe if they had their father, they would be able to deal with this situation a little bit better.
I see how
they would have the tools.
I see how it worked in his favor. Or a man in general, like a fatherly figure. Like I think all men need it. Women, we think we can do it all.
Oh no, we need it.
We need a man in the home. Even for daughters, like you need it. But for raising men, you've never been a man. You've never been a black man. You've never been a man in America. You never. So yes, you can do it on your own if you have to. Yes, there are resources.
But you will be lacking.
You are lacking
in a lot of areas.
You are lacking.
And then when it comes to relationships, like
you are lacking.
I can go down a list of things. Now I can go down a list of things that I feel like having my father would have helped me as far as being a better partner for sure. Just I can talk about that for forever. But so women, we definitely need our fathers, but I really do feel like our men, because they are the pillar, because they are supposed to be leading, they need their dads.
You need examples.
They need their dads.
When you go to school and take a test, have you not been taught?
Right.
Like you need examples. You can't just wing it. There's some of the best fathers in the world that are like you cannot just wing it. Like there's no handbook to fatherhood. Every child is different. Every person is different. You need the father in the home. And I'm glad that like there's an uproar or uptick of like families staying together, black families. But I feel like some women just need to be more intentional also about having children with people that they don't foresee themselves with. It's not a trend.
I think also
it's not a thing to do.
What we talked about in an earlier episode about having grace and holding yourself accountable.
Yes.
Because that's what's gonna keep your family together. That's what's gonna keep your black man at home. You know what I mean? Like that's what's gonna make the relationship work. Even if it's not a romantic relationship, that's what's gonna make the friendship work.
The co-parent, whatever it is, like you have to be able to flex in all relationships, your work relationships, all relationships. So yeah, I agree.
I really want to focus on, because we have two really great different perspectives on father in the home.
Yeah.
So I really want you to highlight some of the benefits that you can, you can identify of having your dad at home.
So I'm speaking about my personal experience. I feel like having my father at home, like if I speak generally, like having the father at home it gives you the perspective your mom can't give you. Like he kept it, like my mom never not kept it real. Like that's not, but my dad was a little bit more raw, I should say. My dad was raw, no filter, like kind of gave it to me straight, where my mom was more motherly. And I feel like I needed that balance because who I am today is exactly that. Like literally I am
both.
the freaking blend.
I can see that.
And it's just like I didn't try to be that way. Please, if you asked me and my dad, like, were we that cool in my high school days, he'd tell you like no. But it came out that way. So like that's really a major benefit, is that like I feel like your father, while I said like before he gave me like survival skills, he gave it to me in a raw way. Like I just can't let it go. Like that's who I am now. And then my mother like balanced it out. But I feel like specifically for my dad, he has life experiences that my mom does not have. Like my dad's experimented with entrepreneurship. Like he's done so many things in his life that like I don't think I'd be who I am today without him at all. Like I don't even know, like my mom, like sometimes we laugh because I'm like, my mom, like she's really, really smart. She like grew in her career, and the career that's like is linear, she grew in it. She reached the top of the level. Ding, rings the bell. Where my dad's career wasn't linear, but he's successful. Like he shows me that there's another way. And I think just having two perspectives, when it's only one perspective in the home, it gets a little foggy, like, and then you're looking for the other perspective from wherever your outlet is, whether that's social media, whether that's your friends. I had two perspectives, and I was able to make decisions with two perspectives.
I think that's a huge point.
Yeah.
Because for me, I only have my mother.
Yeah.
And everything that she came with. I don't have anyone to balance that out, the good and the bad. I don't have anyone else's like fibers.
Yeah, literally.
To balance. I mean, I have his fibers, but I don't have like that thought process.
Yeah.
And it's a good and a bad thing, because this goes back to the point of like choosing your partner wisely, choosing who you have children with wisely. Because maybe my father's not a person who I want to be like. Maybe I don't want to have some of his qualities. And I know I do naturally, just genetics. But like maybe there are things about my father that it's good that he wasn't in my life. Yeah. But to have a man, he's still a man at the end of the day. I feel like the level-headedness that you have, and I'm not talking about you being stressed out and anxious, but you being able to be like rational. You're pretty rational. I feel like you have a certain poise about you that it show, and even your interaction with Sam. I'm sorry.
Okay. They're gonna find a man on socials.
Even your interaction with your fiance, like the level of respect that you have for him. Yeah. I feel like coming into my relationship now, respect was a huge thing. Like, and it wasn't that I didn't have respect. I just didn't know how to show it. I didn't show that I had respect. Yeah. I didn't grow up with not an ounce of testosterone in my home. Literally. So I didn't have that revere or admiration for a man. You had your daddy. Yeah. You grew up with a man that you could admire and that you could, you know what I mean? Like make you feel safe. Like I didn't have that. So it almost makes me feel like men are disposable, So when I got one.
It's all right. Like I can do without him. Like I don't really.
And that's not even how, almost, that was how I acted. It wasn't necessarily how I felt, but it's like, that's what I gave. Yeah. And bringing it back to like how this translates. And I almost wish we had a male's perspective of like, someone who was aware of how not having his father. Yeah. Yeah. Not having how not having his father has impacted him as a man emotionally. Me and my boyfriend talk about this all the time, and just about like, he says, this is his words, men who were raised around a bunch of women, especially stressed out single mothers, you know, they are brought up as like they end up turning into bitches.
Yeah.
And that's why they're killing each other.
I'm saying, yeah, like listen, y'all know what I mean by yeah.
That's why they're killing each other. That's why they're so emotional. That's why
they can't control their emotions.
They can't
like
control their
triggered.
emotion. They're super triggered.
Yeah.
Because they resort to anger and violence.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's why like men drink a little bit and get all super like some of them, because I be wondering like why are you at a function where you were fine? You were fine. Your attitude was great. You were happy coming in here. Why is it that you drink a little bit and now you want to fight the first person that looks at you a little bit? Like, what is that?
Why is it that the liquor is bringing that out of you? I feel what you're saying.
It gives like women drinking wine and now you're getting riled up.
Bitch.
It really does. It really does. It's a good point.
And you know, and bitch is not bitch is not the greatest word, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. A lot of times, like, you know, in our friend groups, when we talking about men, not necessarily our men, but when we're talking about men, we be like, that man was acting like a little bitch. Like, but it's not funny because it's real. It's real. And this is how he was taught how to deal with his emotions, to lash out and not be rational, not be level-headed. And sometimes, you know, it doesn't always take a daddy to teach you that. No. But it does add value, you know, to having your father does add that balance. And I feel like going back to you, like that's what you have that, you know, it's something that I'm learning. It's something that I'm becoming more aware of. Just being able to, and it also goes back to the conversation of like submission and being able to allow my partner to have that energy in the relationship, you know, that masculine energy that we talk about.
Yeah, it's true.
It's true. Because I was definitely giving alpha.
Giving alpha. He said, "You're alpha, aren't you?"
He was like, Alisa, you give me alpha.
Yeah.
And it's not even like I'm like dominant at all. I don't feel like I'm like, I feel like when it comes to things like decision making, and because I feel like I add value in certain areas. What did he say? He said it's not always gonna go Alisa's way. And that's something that I had to adjust to. Like it's not always I grew up watching my mother make all the decisions.
Every decision,
I don't trust nobody else but me.
Yeah.
I don't trust no man. Maybe the way that, you know, not having my father affected me is me not being able to put my full trust in. And I don't want to blame it all on this because it's also like what you show in a relationship, like what you show you can handle, how you can lead in a relationship. But, you know, maybe my first go-to is not trusting that this is a man and he can handle this. Or so, you know, as we're having this conversation, I can identify certain areas as at least in my relationship, how not having my father, you know, has impacted me. It's definitely the respecting is a huge thing. Like I didn't grow up my mother teaching me about men at all.
Yeah. And like honor your man, like that type of stuff.
Yeah, like and I think it's great that she didn't have me around a bunch of men. I don't think she did. I don't think she dated a lot. I mean, I don't know what she did, but
but you don't know what she did.
I don't know what she did. I can count on one hand in my whole entire life that men that I met. Yeah. I can count on one hand how many of them. And even that, like I never had no man sleeping in our house. No. None of that. Yeah. But there's also a downside to that because I didn't get to, you know, witness what a healthy interaction between, you know, a man and a woman was like. You know, I didn't know what it meant to be submissive. I didn't know what it meant to share space with a man. Yeah.
That's a valid point and a valid pickup. Yeah. In the situation.
Yeah. And I think it's very evident, like as I pay, and maybe I can, you know, you're someone, if I really sit and think about it, let me think about it before I actually say this.
You know that little music?
I believe you are the only friend that I have. You're more like family, but the only friend that I have that has their father in their life. Besides, like, Raven and Morgan, but that's, that's family. Yeah. So it's a little different. But you're literally the only person. So I feel like I could learn a lot about myself, watching you and reflecting and seeing the way that you handle situations, just as we talk more and things like that. Maybe that'll help me, because that's another thing. If I don't surround myself with women who have this experience.
No, yeah. And you just are still having the same.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be around a bunch of girls that just don't got daddy. Yeah. I'm gonna just continue to think the same, think the same thing about myself. The only thing that I'm not doing that a lot of girls do that don't have their dads is sleep around. I never slept around. And I don't even know if it's safe to say that that's a daddy issue.
Yeah. That's a you doing you issue.
Yeah, like there's plenty of girls with daddies.
Yeah.
And their daddies is pastors. And
exactly. Like you're just looking for something, whatever subconscious thing. Yeah, that's that. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's so I like that you came on and you didn't like try to not make up reasons, but you didn't try to force it.
No.
Like you're like
I'm still exploring. I'm still learning that.
And now you have your own son. It's gonna come. Like, listen, they say when you want to learn the most about yourself, have a baby or start a business. That's when you learn the most about yourself. Yeah. You can't lie to yourself.
I've learned the most about myself being in a relationship. Like, I think if you allow and you're open-minded and you going through the motions, if you're open to changing and learning.
Yeah.
And if you listen, you learn a lot about yourself. In any relationship, really, but mostly romantic relationships, because you guys are like spending all of your time together and going through the ups and the downs, and
it's work.
All of it's hard work.
It's work. It's not some easy peasy take pics for the gram and everything's great. It's real work, and it's real work having a family.
So, what are some things that you feel like? What are some ways about you that you feel like would be different, or things that you would maybe miss out on if you didn't have your dad? Did I word that right?
Yeah. I think so. I don't think I'd be as confident. My dad really instilled, like, he made, like, despite, like, so he did it in a way where, like, it hurt my feelings when I was younger, but he made me feel like the prize. Always like I was too good for stuff, and you could translate that how you want. Some people take that and really act like they're too good for certain shit, but like I just have this confidence about me where like I really don't feel like there's anything I can't do. Like will I be successful? I don't know, but I don't feel like there's anything I can't try, there's anything I can't do. I really don't have that thought. Like I just everything's gonna work out type of situation. Like,
but you think, I'm sorry to cut you off, but do you think that is a quality that only a father could instill in you, or is this more specific to your dad?
It's more specific to my dad.
So what do you think in general? Because I feel like there are things that, because at the end of the day, we're talking about individuals. So like my mother could instill that in me, right? But as a father, what are some things that you, like if you didn't have your father around?
I think the answer still remains, because there's a lot of things that a man can instill in a woman. Like he instilled that, like, so that, like, that confidence, like he gave it to me in a raw man way. Like it was like, how can I phrase it?
It's hard to put into words.
It is because
it's really an energy with men.
It really is an energy, and like an energy that's not generic. Like moms all day, I could tell my daughter, like, you're the most beautiful thing out here. She is to
cliche.
Me. She is. But only I feel like her dad can tell her the value
and actually make her feel that way.
Make her feel it, but the value of what she has, like the value of who she is. Like I can instill it, I will live it. I don't have to even tell you. Like I am a woman. You can see me do what I do. But like your father, like instills this type of like, you are not to be fucked with, but not because you're better. but because of like what you are, like you have a feminine energy, whatever you are, like, and I feel like only a man can do that. Like it's really tough. Like I don't like, and only a specific man, like a fatherly figure. I don't feel like a brother to a sister, like a fatherly figure can tell a daughter or a daughter figure like the value of what they bring to the table. And I believe it more because I'm looking at what you saw in my mom. Like you could have had any woman, why her? So it's just the value of what they bring. It's different than confidence. That's not the word. It's really just like something that it's something different that you can't put into words, but it makes you feel like the prize. Because it's like you could have any woman you want or any woman relatively like what you want, but like you found my mother, what did she bring to the table? So I feel like the answer still remains the same, but it is an energy.
Did you ever look for your dad in other men?
I think my dad and Sam are a lot alike.
Really? But was that intentional?
No.
But did you look for your dad?
No, please, if you fucking ask me, like no.
Sorry, Marcus.
No, sorry. Love you, Dad. But no.
Why?
No, I think because we had so much turmoil in high school that like looking for a man to date, that's not that was the opposite. I just didn't seek it. Like it just wasn't at the top of mind. I was looking for my own man that would fit Deja. Like at that time. Like it wasn't looking for him at all.
It's not always going to be that peachy keen story. It's like, oh, my dad was the love of my life, and I want my husband.
You can have a great father that pissed you off. You can have a great father that fucking pissed you off. Like a great father that told you shit you didn't want to fucking hear. It probably shit you didn't even need to hear. And you're still a great father. I feel like those stories, like it's a few and far between. It's few and far between. Like it's very rare.
Especially when you have like a black dad that comes from certain things.
And you need to be challenged. I don't need you to be the perfect dad. I need you to tell me shit that some other nigga won't tell me. Like, or they'll take advantage of me for the thing that I am that you're shining light.
You know what's so interesting? This brings up a huge point. So a lot of the conversations me and my boyfriend have are like, he feels like, and I don't 100% agree with this, but I respect this. I don't know men at all. No matter how many guy friends I've had, how many guys I've dated, I don't know the thought process of a man. I don't know men at all. And the idea that not only do I not know men, the idea that I have of men is completely off. Like completely. And it's interesting because I feel like maybe that wouldn't be the case if I had my father around. I would have, certain knowledge. And it's not like I've been fortunate enough to not, have had horrible experiences with men being taken advantage of and things like that. But even just like day-to-day interactions and just my perception of like, and it translates in my relationship because it's like certain things that is normal for a man or the thought process of a man. It's like, I don't get it and I don't respect it. And I feel like maybe something's wrong with you. But it's like, maybe if I grew up with my father, I would understand that a little bit more.
Yeah,
I'd be able to navigate that a little bit better.
I've never thought about that. I just know because I have my dad and he told me what he liked in my mom, I knew what men looked for in women. Like what men that they wanted to keep. Not women that they just wanted to have sex with or do whatever with.
What about the relationship between your parents?
What about it? Like what?
Did that set any type of tone for you?
Yeah. So they've argued, like it's just regular stuff, but like I feel like I've never let a man like disrespect me to a certain extent. Like he's never disrespected my mom, so I never thought disrespect was normal, for an example. Or like the way he talks about my mom, that's where I was going before. Like the way he talks about my mom, he's like, your mom is really smart. She goes out, she sets goals, she can read. He jokes, he'll be like, she can read, like she could write, like she's not dumb.
She could
like
read.
he's just funny like that, but like he'll be like, she's not dumb. She doesn't walk around stupid. She doesn't walk around with a bunch of bitches that are stupid. Like so the things that he said about my mom,
not a bunch of bitches.
Yeah, like he just like she doesn't carry herself a certain way.
Oh my God.
So those things I found that I needed to be because that's what you valued in her, like to stay with her. They've been together for so long. And not that they never argued. They've argued before. They never argued a lot, thankfully, but they've argued before. But there was a level of disrespect that I just wasn't willing to take. And I hate to even say it, but I will smack shit out you over a certain level of shit. Like, it's just because it's so disrespectful to me. Like there's certain words you cannot use. There's certain things you cannot do. And I feel like that's what my dad, because while they argued and I didn't really hear much, the ones I heard were never really like disrespectful. They're just arguing over a point. Like
maybe they kept it away from you.
maybe they did.
And maybe
Glad
that's
you did.
a great thing.
Because the level of disrespect now, I don't take anything. Like there's no, like it's almost laughable if like someone were to come at me a certain way. So like, but I feel like the things more so like that's the relationship they had is he's always uplifted her. Like he's always talked about like what she brought to the table. So I always thought you had to bring something. Like I never thought like you just show up and a man takes care of you. Like I never had that idea. Never. Not even from my grandparents. Never had that idea. Like my grandma's always worked. She's always been super smart. She cares about people. She took care of like remedial, I don't know if that's even the right word, but like students that like were above high school age, but they had to get a high school education, not GED, but it's like something else. Yeah. So she took care of those. Like, so I've never thought you come to the table and a man takes care of you. I never had that idea, but I didn't know what he looked for in a woman that you wanted to keep. Because there's different than being pretty than being someone you want to spend 20 plus years with.
Right. And there's also a conversation around like what the expectations of providing looks like. When you come from a single family home with just a woman versus, you know, a mother and a father. Because for me, like, I have no problem sharing responsibility, but I feel like because I've watched my mom do it all on her own, I will be the first to like, I don't leave room for, or at least I didn't leave room for, you know, someone else to come in and like, let me handle that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I don't even know how to do that though. I don't know if that's a, I don't know.
That's a personality thing.
Might be, because I don't do that now. I wrote down like in our notes somewhere, like one of my key things for like having a relationship is letting someone take care of you, because I don't know how to do that. Like,
wait, what do you mean by
like, even emotionally, not even financially, just anyway. Like, so basically, like, I'm gonna have to give an example to really know what I'm talking about. I feel like a burden sometimes with my anxiety, because sometimes I'll have a panic attack and there's nothing I can do about it. But I'm going nuts. Like, I need to, like, either get away from situations. I've been to the emergency room, like, whatever. And Sam will just do stuff, like, take care of it. But I'm like, oh, no, he's doing too much. He's made Sage breakfast and he got her from bed. Like, that's a lot. I have to at least do something. Or like, oh no, he has to work, he has meetings, and I'm upstairs having a panic attack. That's not fair. I have to at least go downstairs and watch her while he has a meeting. And I never, like, I feel like a burden when I let people take care of me. So like, I don't know how much of that is like, it could be a daddy issue for you. It could be like because you watched your mom do everything. But for me, I feel like it might not be.
You know what I actually think it is? Now that I'm sitting and reflecting on it, it's a control thing.
Could be. You could be a control freak. You could be
because I know my mother is like super like she likes things a certain way. She can be very controlling. I think I definitely.
And you set expectations in your head, so when they're not going according to plan, or if you have the ability to make them go according to plan, and someone's like, "Wait, can I help?" You're like, no.
That's exactly it. It's not daddy.
That's not daddy.
That's not daddy.
That's not daddy. I don't think.
I mean, maybe he could have.
I don't know.
Maybe he could have balanced that though.
Could be.
Maybe.
He could have added value in that area where he's like, he could have, because your mom being a control freak or you being a control, and I'm not being disrespectful. Like, it's just the word. Like, your mom being that or you being that. He could have came in and said, if you don't sit down, like, you know, like, if you don't let me do something.
Or just showed me that, like, as far as partnership is concerned, like, this is what it looks like.
Yeah. Exactly. And just helping and forcing a help. Like, I feel like Sam doesn't force it, but I don't know how. I told my therapist that one day. I was like, I don't know. Like, she said, so who, like, because I told her, I was like, when he cooks dinner and, like, does everything, like, bathes.
It makes you feel weird?
I feel like I'm not doing enough. And she was like, but you both have to eat. And I was like, yeah, but, like, he's doing everything. And she was like, so does it matter who cooks?
But then that's like, we're going completely off track.
Yeah.
But, you know, that 50-50 conversation we was having?
Yeah, we can have that, yeah. Another day. But no, but it goes into that. And that's why I don't think anything's 50-50. Yeah. Well, nothing can be.
Because sometimes when you're only able to give 20%, that's where he comes in. 80. Yeah. So,
with that being said, just to circle back.
Yeah, how do we circle back?
So the benefits of having my dad in the home, there's more to it. But I feel like one major one is that confidence, because it's weird having, but see, it's weird having confidence when like sometimes things just don't work out. So it beats you down, but like I do feel that way. Like I feel like there's nothing I can't do, and I think that is from him. He made me feel like
I think that's,
you're more.
you know, it's cool to have your dad in the home, but it's one thing to be raised by a real nigga.
Yeah.
You know what
And
I
someone
mean?
raw, because you hate it as a kid. As a kid, I almost felt like
Yeah.
you're another one of my bullies. That's what I would feel.
Yeah.
But when I got older, I'm like, no, you're giving it to me straight because someone else is. Like like I hate, and I even hate giving that example because I hate that raise your kids for the world type of mentality. Like, no,
Yeah,
raise them
yeah.
because the world's gonna do whatever.
Yeah.
But you're giving it to me straight because someone else is, and they're not going to say it in a loving spirit. Like, you're not even saying it in a loving tone, but they're not going to say it in a loving spirit. They're going to tell me to beat me down and to make so yes, like I do to say that, like I do feel like that confidence was given to me, so but it's given to me in that way that it can't be stripped. Like it can't, like no, a woman can tell you all day how beautiful you are, how much she sees in you. Like we just went to my dress fitting, like she gave us that whole beautiful conversation.
Such a
But
freaking
imagine a
angel.
man like seeing that, the man we saw before that, like just seeing that and then showing you examples of what that is. Drills the point in.
You know, I think what having a dad does for women, especially having a black dad for black women, a good black dad for black women, it's the poise and the demeanor and the because I'm watching, I'm as you're speaking, I'm watching you, I'm thinking, and I know you feel like you're like the least poised. I feel like you think you're just like crazy in the brain.
I do. A little psychotic.
But like, I don't think you realize, even just in this relationship, my day to day, my mind, I have so much going on. Like, my mind is all over the place. And I'm like losing it in my head. And your level, your, I don't know what to label it, but it's just an energy that you bring that is very apparent that you have the best of both worlds. And it's reassuring. It's an energy that like helps you focus. It's all of those things, and I just feel like that. And maybe I'm thinking about it too hard. I don't know, but I really do feel like having, especially just like in black families, because we just come, both men and women, like we come with so much. When you have both of those in you, you're just a lot more balanced. You know what I mean? And I know you feel like you're just.
I heard a sound. I had to look.
I know you probably look at me like, I know, who was I talking to? Oh, one of my friends was just like, oh, you're so calm. You're so cool,
I think that
calm,
about you.
collected. I know. And people
I think you're
do.
calm as a cucumber. Most things.
People think that, but like, I don't know. I'm not at all. Like,
me
I'm
Not. Please, I be fucking about
no,
to melt.
I know you're I know you're not, but you I don't know, it's an energy. It's definitely an energy thing. Like, and I'm learning. Like, I'm getting better. I'm definitely gonna pat myself on the back because I feel like,
As you should.
I feel like I'm at least, at the very least, open to being.
You guys, that's some
The
raw footage for you.
commentary in
That's
the
some raw
back.
footage for you friends.
It's shot o'clock.
Shot o'clock. Shot o'clock. Shot
ran
o'clock.
Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna wrap this
Oh,
up.
good. Okay.
We're gonna wrap this up. I'm just trying to think.
I feel like this was a really more organic conversation. Like, I feel like
I just hope that we got across, and I'm speaking to those watching us right now. I hope that we got across, the value of fathers in the home. Like, I don't know if the statistics is enough. it's just so normalized.
That's the thing. The statistics are high. That one about
I'm gonna read them again.
that one, yeah, read that one with the 70% because that's a lot.
I'm gonna read the statistics again.
And is that for just all genders as well? Like
this is
children?
Black males.
No, I mean like for the statistics, like when it's talking about like Black children are more likely.
Oh,
so either child.
I'm gonna
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Black children, but I feel like, and the record shows that this is impacting our males.
Mm-hmm. It is. You can see it on the streets.
Not you can see it on the street. 70% of Black children grow up without a father in their home.
That's crazy.
Now, let me make something clear about that statistic. This is actually, never mind. 70% of Black children grow up without a father in the home.
Mm-hmm.
If you're raised without your father, you are 5 times more likely to be poor and commit crime. So if we dissect just that, having your father in your home, you talked about confidence.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about all of the things that your father instilled in you.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to have your mother instill. I mean,
Right.
just to have both parents there to just instill some of these things, like it translates. So 5 times more likely to be poor and commit crime, because poverty brings crime. 9 times more likely not to finish school, and 20 times more likely to end up in jail. I was watching this interview that what's this guy's name? The politician that was on Breakfast Club?
Umar?
No, Larry Elder. He's running for president. He's a Republican, a Black man.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to give my opinion on anything because I don't need nobody coming for me.
Mm-hmm. Not in the comments, y'all. Yeah.
But what I will say is that he brought up a really good point about the lack of fear that is in some of our Black men,
Mm-hmm.
and how that contributes to a lot of the decisions that they make. Larry Elder grew up with 2 parents who were both in the dirty South, like Alabama. I forgot where the other parent was from, Mississippi, or the South, the deep South, in the Jim Crow era. So this is a Black man that knows what racism is. He's experienced it firsthand. His parents have experienced it firsthand. And he just talked about how, like, for him, he grew up with his father and his mother.
Mm-hmm.
For him, he had the fear of his father and over authority. These Black men, they don't have a dad to fear. So they definitely not fearing authority. And it's just like, it's not even about like instilling fear into your child, but it's just, there's a certain respect and a certain revere that you have for a man. Like, I watch it with my son. Like, my son don't act the way he acts with his dad, the way he acts with me. And it's not a fear. It's just it's a presence that men, the male presence. It's a presence, having that presence in your home on a day-to-day basis. You know, you're going home to someone that is superior.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for men to feel, especially a man who's being raised by his mother. Like, you don't feel like she's your superior. No. You know what I mean? No. Like, there's still, like, there's a love, there's a respect, there's a tenderness. Yeah. Like, it's not like, oh, this is my superior. This is someone that, I revere. No. It's not that level of respect. And so it's a really good interview. And I don't even know if I should even be plugging anything. But
I know, I think it says something about that.
Interesting.
It says something. It's a point, because I'm thinking, like, the men now, certain men, not all men, but some Black men, they don't even fear like death. Like, they don't even fear.
They fear nothing.
The unknown. They don't even fear anything. Everything we just talked about before, like anxieties about like death, things that like are above of all of us. Anything is promised. They don't even fear that. Like, they are just.
And they're in survival mode.
Yeah, they're just walking around like invincible. Mm-hmm. And that's scary.
Very scary.
And then that tells you what they can do to other things, because that's how you feel. So that's a valid point.
Yeah. It's It's heavy.
It is
It's a
heavy.
lot. It's a lot. And there's so much more to it, just about like just the demise of the black family in general. But my hope is that like these conversations are had more often. You know, big ups to all the fathers that are active. My voice is giving out.
But active, and also the ones that are active when like maybe your child's mother is not making it easy for you, and you still keep pushing for that relationship, because that's tough. It doesn't matter like what the reason is. It's really tough to deal with someone you don't want to deal with.
A
Like,
bitter
it's
baby
tough.
mama.
It's tough. Even dealing with like work colleagues you don't want, like all of that's tough. And I just like anybody that's doing that. But to the men that are really doing that and pushing past women just being so vindictive and disgusting towards them, big up to you guys as well. You matter.
Yes.
You matter. And yeah, power to the people. And with that being said, friends, if you enjoy what you heard here today, please like, comment, subscribe. And you can listen to the audio-only version of the podcast everywhere you get podcasts.
Till next time.
Peace.